Tomorrow. Now, in other news, the Gauteng Education Department says all learners who had applied for placement in grade 1 and 8 have found schools. It's been weeks of frustration as parents and learners struggled to find schools when the academic year began. The Gauteng Education Department says it had received over 340,000 applications under the 2022 online admissions for grade 1 and grade 8. For more on this, we're joined by Gauteng Education Spokesperson Steve Mabona. Mr. Mabona, thank you for being with us. So right now, everybody has a school to go to in the mornings.
Good evening, Francis. Yes, we can confirm that all those that applied using our system for grade 1 and 8, we have placed all of them in our different schools. So we are just finalizing those that would have, applied for inner grades. But for those that applied online for grade 1 and 8, we have managed to place those. And the interesting part now, which I need to share with you, Francis, is that since we opened the system on the 12th of January, over 25,000 applicants were placed, meaning that those are the parents that would have came probably from other provinces, or those that would have said, I forgot, probably, or I didn't know how to use these things. And they were all placed in the schools. I can tell you now that those children are in the classroom, over 25,000, only in January. So it can be indicative that the system works very well. It's just that we have a challenge of capacity in Gauteng.
Yeah. And some learning has been lost for some learners, even those who their parents used the system correctly in the first place. Experts I've spoken to say it looks like a good system. This is what we want. And yet, even after years, we have those teething problems. You weren't able to put all the kids in class on day one.
No, but we need to be factual here. We need to look at the numbers. We're saying here over 347,000 placements, which we have conducted. And out of that number, we had over 1,400 of those that would have appealed and said, you gave us schools that we don't want, those ones that were complaining. And out of that 1,400, I can assure you that 71, we felt that there's merit on what they were raising to us. And we gave them schools as per the admission regulations. Over 1,300, we could not, because their complaints, we could not find any merit. And so when you look at the numbers, vis-a-vis what people would have been complaining about, you can see that it's not an issue of a system, but we have a capacity and a preference challenge whereby some other schools cannot accommodate everyone that would have, applied in those schools.
Yeah.
And we have areas where we are pressured, development is moving ahead of us, and we cannot accommodate everyone that wants a certain school in an area.
These are parents who say, they're no longer given preference if an older child was at the school. Now they've got to go all over the show to drop their different kids off in different areas. We often hear the complaints. So what you're saying is you've been as fair as possible. You've tried to accommodate. You've done what you can, and you've gone as far as you can.
Indeed. I mean, we have accommodated, everyone. But you know that in education, we listen to complaints and go back and check on how we're going to be assisting probably, in future. So the MEC has directed that we need to review the system, check on the complaints that were put on the table, and try to manage those concerns and make sure that when we reopen the system for 2023, we will then be in a position to say we have, attended to some of the concerns, if we were to put it that way coming from parents. But when you look at the numbers, there's an indication that the system works very well. the issue that we have here is capacity. And we have a plan as a department on how we're going to alleviate pressure in the high pressure areas. We are building schools. We're using a different mechanism from what we would normally use, that of using a Department of Infrastructure. Some of the schools, they will still be built by them, but we felt as an education, we will be utilizing a different mechanism to build more schools and continue to transfer funds to schools to build more classes. I mean, this week we were launching new classrooms that we send actually money to a school to build classes, and they managed to do that. They gave us 8 classes, and they alleviated the pressure from their school. So many schools, they will utilize out of the 240 million that we have already transferred to them to build the extra classroom. So we think that next year will be better than this year.
I was going to ask in finality, how long does it take to build a new school? Because we know Gauteng is this pressure point because a lot of youngsters are moving in with their parents from other provinces. You're talking about overwhelming numbers. With the right political will, is this something that can happen quickly?
No, it will happen quickly, because if it doesn't happen quickly, we might be sitting with a bigger problem. I mean, we have recorded that Gauteng for this year, over 100,000 people wanted, they came into Gauteng. So it tells you that the quality of education that we provide, people want to associate with. But in any case, you know that this is an economic hub. Everyone wants to be in Gauteng. So we need to, fast track that process of building. That's why we have adopted that let schools assist us to build those classrooms. And it takes 3 months. In some instances, they take 4 months. They would have been provided those classrooms for us. So, but schools, we are looking at a shorter period than the one that we will normally have when we use Department of Infrastructure.
All right, thank you for your time. Gauteng Education Department Spokesperson Steve Mabona. Let's recap tonight's top